Greetings and welcome to the Power Gamer Podcast. I'm your host, Mike Dawson, joined as always by fellow host Johnny Paulus. Johnny, welcome in. How are you doing this week, sir?
Yo, what's up, man? How you doing?
Whoa, I'm doing great. Wow. Yeah, it's I don't feel exhausted or overrun this week. I just kind of feel, like we're here. Things are good.
Yeah.
Nothing really fucking weird to report. You know what I mean?
Yeah, that's always a good place to be.
Yeah, I haven't had any crazy overloaded schedules from music or anything like that. It's just kind of been I had a lot of time to play some video games, which past couple weeks that hasn't really been the case, so pretty pleased with that. What about you? How are you doing this week?
Work. It's been one of those weeks that it's busy, but like not in a bad way. Like I'm getting shit done. I'm being productive. It's sometimes you're busy where you're like, I'm not making any headroom. I'm just like getting fucking buried in shit that I need to do. This is not that week. So far this week, hey, we made it through hump day. We're looking good. We're feeling good. And I'm playing Odies again this Saturday, which I'm actually really looking forward to. It's slowly turning into one of my favorite places to play. I've only played there twice, but both times crowd response has been awesome. Everybody loves me. I have a whole lot of fun there. So I am looking forward to, Saturday.
Yeah, so let's come out the gate swinging here before we even do our proper introductions.
Sure.
All right, so we finally can see the real PlayStation Slims, which are going to be coming out this holiday season.
Yep.
And they're as predicted. There's a digital version, and it's modular, and you can add a disk drive to it, or you can buy it with the disk drive already attached for a little bit less.
Yep.
Than if you went a la carte, so to speak, which I think is really cool. It is a hell of a lot smaller than the current PlayStation 5. Thank God, because that thing is just obnoxiously huge.
Way too big.
But bigger SSD, which is nice, terabyte instead of 500. So I mean, all around
865, I think is the technical on the original PS5.
Okay, whatever.
It's not a full terabyte.
We have a terabyte in the new one, which is what I was saying. So, but yeah, I mean, other than that being smaller, I mean, I thought that was the only thing to look at with it. But I share the picture with Johnny, and I actually wanted to punch him because Johnny seemed to exercise for some inappropriate, inexplicable reason the ability to go completely over the top, bitching about something that no one else fucking cares about. Johnny, do you mind sharing about that?
Hey, look, I'm not the only one on Twitter that thought the new PS5 Slim is fugly.
It looks the fucking same.
No,
it's
man.
Smaller.
No. I got no problem with the size. The size is great.
Oh my gosh.
I'm sure the thermals are better. All of those are all improvements. The lines on the side where it separates the top and the bottom part of the console looks cheap. It looks like an aftermarket fin pack that somebody got. It looks like a Mad Catz fucking PlayStation. It looks jank. I don't like it. I think it's ugly as fuck. I know that they're aesthetically very similar, but that little line, I don't like. I don't like it at all. I immediately saw it, was like, ugh. It was my first response. And that shouldn't be my first response when I see a new console. It shouldn't be, ugh. And that was my exact response. And if you go on Twitter right now and you search
it's okay,
Slim,
Johnny, I promise that you're having this rant to a bunch of people that didn't even think about it, because this is such a ludicrous take on this.
That's fine.
Because when you look at it, it looks just like a PlayStation 5, and yeah, it has one little black line on the side, big fucking whoop, and it's asymmetrical on either side. I didn't even think about it. I'm just like, oh, okay, cool. That's where you pop in the drive.
Yeah, I think it's ugly. I don't like it.
Oh my gosh.
It looks cheap. It looks cheap. I don't like it. Not a fan.
There you have it, ladies and gentlemen. You've got the
it looks like a cheap aftermarket. It looks like, there are companies that make the really nice fins for your PS5, right? But they're expensive. Like the D brands and shit, they're like 70, 80 bucks, $100. And then you go, well, let me see what's on Amazon to see what's cheaper, and you start scrolling down through the $40 fins and then the $30 fins.
This is fucking hilarious how much thought you put into
And they
this.
start getting real fucking cheesy looking. And
Oh
that's
my
what I
gosh.
think the PS5 Slim looks like. It looks cheap. It looks like somebody put a line there to make it different, but it's ugly. I don't like it. I know, I understand, and I am fully aware that I am pissing and moaning about a single line on both sides of the console. I totally understand that.
Not
I
only are you
acknowledge
bitching
that.
about it, but you've now admitted that you've gone onto Twitter to seek out like-minded people.
Oh, no. The first post I saw on the PS5, the comment right below it was literally ew, period. Was the first comment on it. Ew. And I was like, yeah, I kind of feel the same way. And then when you posted it in Discord a couple
This is
hours
so
later,
ridiculous.
and I replied with a couple puking emojis, or like people getting ready to puke, you were like, wow, that's a weird take from you. And then I was like, okay, so I remember the one guy saying, "You like, am I crazy here?" And I just went to Twitter and I searched PS5 Slim, and I just found one that was for it, and I just scrolled, and like, I'm not saying everybody hates it. I'm not even saying the majority of people hate it. I'm just saying I'm not the only one that thinks it's ugly. I think the PS5 Slim is ugly. Comment on the YouTube right now if you think the PS5 Slim is ugly. I don't like it. I think it looks cheap. Hot take from your boy. Sorry.
That's not a hot take.
Oh, it's a hot take.
It's not a hot take. It's a dumb take because it's fucking nothing.
No, it's not nothing. It looks stupid. I don't like
a
it.
hot take would be like, oh, the PS5 is the biggest garbage system on the planet. It can't do jack shit, man. This thing's trash. That would be a hot take because that
would be a dumb take. I'd give you that.
That's a hot take, right? You have Mr. PC Master Race guy that is all poo poo, but it's, you know what I think's fucking stupid? How fucking big the PlayStation 5 is.
I'll give you that. Yeah, absolutely.
And if I had to choose between having a black line on the side of the console that, oh, by the way, I don't know about you, Johnny, but when I'm playing video games, you know what I'm not looking at? The fucking console.
No, I get it.
You know what the ugliest console on the planet Earth is? The Nintendo Switch in the fucking dock. It's aesthetically horrendous.
Yeah.
But do you care? That's why I was so blown away that your comment wasn't, oh, cool, there's the new PS5. It's smaller. You know, that you were focused on the aesthetic of a line. It's like, who gives a fuck? I want more shelf space. I look at it from like a purely logical standpoint of, logically, I just want it smaller. I don't care if it's a pink fucking dildo that I hook a controller into. And that, I don't care. I just want it to not take up, an entire block of my goddamn entertainment.
Well, look, I mean, so just so we're clear, I'm not saying that I would never buy this. I'm not saying that because of the line that I would avoid it entirely. If for any reason my PlayStation 5 I currently have died, or I had some reason for buying another PlayStation, yes, I would buy the Slim. If I had a choice between the two, I would buy the Slim. It doesn't mean that I have to like the way that it looks. I think the PS5 Slim, with the line going through the middle of it, is fucking cheesy looking.
This is so silly, because like when we talk about the look of something, right?
Yeah.
Like if I had a scar on my face, right? Is my face suddenly going to be like completely different to you? No, it's just a line, right?
It's not just a line, though. It's two completely separate pieces of plastic on both sides. So to answer your question, if somebody split your head open all the way across to where there were deep gouges in the sides of your face like Joker, yes, it would be ugly. That would be aesthetically off-putting. We're not talking about a small line. We're talking about a literal gouge on both sides of the console. I don't like it. It's okay to have an opinion that you don't agree with. It's okay for you to think it's a stupid opinion, but it's my opinion. My first thought when I saw the thing was, I don't like that. I don't like the way that looks at all. I'm not a fan. I think it looks cheap. I hope that somebody comes up with some third party solution that doesn't look like that, because that line of crosses, I'm not a fan. Not a fan.
There you have it, ladies and gentlemen.
Don't like it.
They crossed the line with Johnny. Oh man.
That's exactly right. Yes. No.
Yes, they crossed the line with Johnny. So I'm definitely not going to superimpose symmetrical lines on the sides of things now just to drive Johnny fucking nuts. That would just be awful of me to do. I'll definitely not be doing that.
Okay.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome in to episode 135. 135.
That's crazy that we have 135 episodes of a podcast.
I know.
That's so crazy.
Episode 135 of Your Power Gamer podcast. We appreciate you tuning in. As always, just give us a like, leave us a review. The only things that we ask for you to support the creation of the show is clicking on something somewhere or touching something on your phone screen. So if you can do that, then you've been extra awesome. And if you didn't do that, well, maybe next time. We'll see. We're going to start off this week's episode by first discussing the games we've been playing this week. Johnny.
Yep.
I'm going to let you have first go here because
sure.
I think I'm probably going to go on a bit longer than you today.
Okay. I am about, I'm going to say 3/4 of the way through Sea of Stars. I think I'm very close to beating this game. As far as overall playtime, I think I'm probably around the 25-30 hour mark. I've put in a decent amount of time in the last week. You know how all JRPGs have that moment about 2/3 of the way through, sometimes 75% of the way through, sometimes 50% of the way through. But there's always that big flip or twist or something where it's like, this is what the game is really about. You thought it was this, it kind of is, but really when it comes down to it, this is what it's actually about.
Yeah, the big twist, the big whatever.
Right.
Yeah.
So, and that's where we're at now. And I've now added 2 additional party members to the team. And one of the things that I'm really finding intriguing about this game is that in a lot of these games where you have 6 possible party members, but you can only have like 3 at a time or 4 at a time, you have to like switch them out. So you have to like go to a save point and switch them out, or you have to be out of combat and switch them out. But in this game, I have access to all of them. When any character, it's their turn, and I go, well, I want to get my rogue chick out to come do her poison stuff. Any character can swap to any of the other characters that's not already in play, which is really awesome. And that combined with there's so many more enemies that I'm doing, so many more spells that I'm doing, and they all have timing based things similar to you were watching stream and actually completely nailed it. It's a Mario RPG mechanic. Hitting the A button right as an attack lands so that you can block it. Hitting A right as an attack hits so that it'll do it again, or it'll do more damage or whatever. There's a lot of timing based stuff with this game. And those things are really important. So you'll have a real hard time when you get to a new enemy type and they have a new attack where the timing it feels weird, right? Similar to like the Dark Souls thing where like you feel like they're going to hit and the hit comes a little after. There's sort of that going on. But dude, I got to say right now, this is shaping up to be like one of my favorite 16-bit style RPGs of all time. The score is astoundingly good. Like this is a score I would put the CD in my car and listen to. Like it's incredible the amount of songs in this game. The combat music is great, the victory music is great, the level up music is great. I mean, everything with the music in this game is just incredible. The story is blowing my mind, and the number one thing I have to give this game credit for is the pacing. Did I mention this last week? The pacing? Can't remember if I did or not.
I mean, it's kind of generally known in Sea of Stars that it's a group XP type thing. Like you can't over grind. I mean, really, you just don't have to. You just play the game. and you're always right where you need to be in it. So
Yes. And I have backtracked a little bit and like just to go get more food materials or to go fishing, I got to go through this level. And those levels will repopulate with enemies and you can fight them again and you can then level up a little bit while you're doing those things. And I've done a little bit of that. But nothing like a Final Fantasy game where you're like, "Well, time to go run around the woods and fight the same enemies for the next hour." Like there really isn't that. But when I talk about the pacing, I mean the pacing of the story. I feel like every dungeon I get to, every island I get to, every little story beat that I get to, feels right. It feels fleshed out, but it's not, wearing its welcome. It's not too much. I feel like I get there, I experience it, the story keeps going, the pacing of the story keeps going. And honestly, I haven't been hooked on a JRPG like this in years. I mean, I cannot stop playing this game. The second my wife goes to bed, I'm like, Sea of Stars time. I can't stop playing this game. So, I think it's definitely going to be in my top 5 for the year. Like, I think it's a shoe-in for that right now. But yeah, I mean, anybody that's looking for a game to get into, if you dig the old school JRPG thing, Sea of Stars comes with a very, very strong recommend. I haven't quite beat it yet. I think I'm going to beat it in the next 2 days. I'll probably have it beat before the weekend's up at least. But yeah, that game's going down, and then I will move on to, I don't know, maybe Final Fantasy 16. We'll see.
So real quick, all right?
Sure.
And don't overthink these. Just give me your initial response.
Okay. Yep.
Final Fantasy 6 or Sea of Stars?
Haven't played Final Fantasy 6, can't tell you.
Final Fantasy 7 or Sea of Stars?
Final Fantasy 7.
Mario RPG or Sea of Stars?
God, that's tough. Sea of Stars.
Um,
And the only thing that edges that out is story. I mean, the story in Mario games is always kind of meh.
Except Mario RPG. That one's decent, but oh yeah, there's so many of the new pixel ones that you haven't tackled yet. I guess I'll have to loop back around on this or
Well,
that.
I mean, I loved Chain Echoes. I mean, I know I had some issues with it early on, but I ended up falling in love with that game. This game just blows it out of the water. And I mean, Chain Echoes was made by basically one dude. So
yeah,
mad respect to him. I'm not taking anything away from him. He made a great game. I loved a lot of that game. But Sea of Stars
I would love to this or that Octopath Traveler. Or Triangle Strategy.
I mean, I've played 25 hours of Octopath Traveler 1, and I would say Sea of Stars. Like instantaneously, wouldn't even think twice.
Sure. Right. Anything else going on this week there?
Outside of that, I've been kind of banging out the Marvel Snap quite a bit this past week. I've been having a lot of fun with the new Elsa Bloodstone. She's an interesting card. She gives a +3 power to the 4th card played in a lane, and I've had a lot of luck playing move decks with her. So if I have her out and I play Human Torch is now a 5. If I move him the next turn, he's a 10. If I move him a turn after that, he's a 20. That coupled with there's a lot of cards that scale really well, and moves can get out of that location, right? So I can play Nightcrawler there, he gets a +3, and then I can move him out and play Jeff there, and he gets a +3, and then I can move him out, and I can play Vision, and he gets a +3, and you just value all out of a 2-cost card. So
yeah, I've been a little. I mean, the last season was a tougher Infinite for me than the past couple of ones have been. But that all being said, the current state of the game where it's so heavy on Alioth, and the game did not choose to bless me with Alioth, is making it kind of a drag.
Well, and that's honestly, Mike, the whole reason why I made an Elsa move deck is because there are 2 turn 6s that completely fucking counter Alioth, and that is Magneto, and that is Heimdall. Those 2 cards you just play them in a fucking lane that they're not Aliothing, and everything moves over and they go shit. or there's a lane like you're already beating the crap out of them, and they've kind of ignored it. You just drop your Magneto there, and all your 3s and 4s go over, and they Eliath another lane. So I've had a lot of luck with Heimdall and Magneto against Eliath, because you're playing them in other lanes that they're not expecting.
I've had a busy week. Busy.
I see that. You've got quite a list, my friend.
I guess let's start with the easy one. I'm still playing Divinity Original Sin 2. I'll be very pleased. And I don't have anything new to say about it. It's fine.
Okay.
I have begun Resident Evil 4 Remake, which is just so perfectly done. I've played all the RE remakes at this point, but what's neat with Resident Evil 4 is, I mean, back when that game came out, it sort of set the precedent for what modern presentation is in gaming and what it looks like.
100% agreed. Yep, it raised the bar for everything.
And I mean, still to this day, I mean, that's what you can look back to with a lot of third-person action adventure type games and say, well, it's obviously influenced by this in some way.
Yep.
And I recently played like the old version on my actual GameCube and really enjoyed it, even though it was pretty tough. But no problem, held up well over the years, so I was glad to go back and play that again this past year. But finally, the time has opened up where it's like, cool, I can play Resident Evil 4 Remake. And oh my fucking god, is it just like a perfect recreation of the old world, with graphics that are absolutely bonkers. Nice changes to environments and dialogue and delivery that hold true to the original. Like, it doesn't feel like it's the 2023 version of the script or something. It's just great. It's just perfect. And everything that was kind of clunky with the original's game's control, I mean, and I'm talking about more than just you couldn't move and shoot.
Yeah.
In the original. I mean, outside of that though, like how they've fixed doing melee attacks and doing counters and things, it's just really a perfect version of, what's easily considered to be one of the best games ever made has become better somehow. So I'm really enjoying it. And, would say I think it's on sale a lot of places right now for like $40, something like that. So great time to go pick it up if you haven't already. And of course, Resident Evil is a perfect series for this time of year. Next up, I've got some games that I completed. So you know what that means. It's time to talk about those games. Johnny, which one do you want to hear about first?
I'm dying to hear your thoughts on Starfield.
Let's talk about Starfield. All right. So you finished it last week, and you rated the game at a 9.2, I believe.
Something like that. That sounds right. I'll look it up while you're talking.
So for first and foremost, and I've been saying this for months and months, that Starfield is very much a game that was built specifically for me in a lot of ways, because I love space game. And I've been waiting for the next one since Mass Effect that really had like a big cohesive story and something to really sink my teeth into. So Starfield, I've been excited for a very long time. It has been my most anticipated game for, it feels like 2 years now. And I finally got to play it, and I really did enjoy my time with this game. A lot of the things that Starfield gets right is just the detail to the worlds that are inhabited. I like, all the cities and things have great design, especially New Atlantis. Sidonia maybe is a little lacking, the city that's on Mars. But everywhere you look around those planets, you find stuff that, you didn't even know was going to be there. It wasn't until I got my New Game Plus that I even discovered that Deimos has this big shipbuilding operation on it. That's totally fucking dope. So there's just stuff everywhere you look in it. Tons and tons of quests. It's really full on content that makes the world feel full, which I really like. Neon, I also particularly liked, even though Neon feels a little small. It's kind of just like a hallway of stuff, and
Right.
then the back world's kind of whatever. But it like on a small scale has those Night City vibes.
Yeah.
Um, I guess one of the things that I wasn't as fond of was Starfield, and particularly the cities, is after playing a game like Cyberpunk 2077, which we've got a lot of comparables between those two games. Um, is I mean that city just feels it is huge. Night City is. And there's world around Night City in Cyberpunk, and you come to Starfield, and it's like, well, you land, and there's just a lot of facades in place that aren't really things to be interacted with. So it does feel a little bit like the shooting gallery with cardboard cutouts, in a way, more so than
Totally.
other games of this era. It does. It's got a little bit of a dated feel to it. Um, it's so similar to Skyrim. It's when you go into a town in Skyrim, it really feels the same in Starfield. The other thing I like with Starfield is there's a lot of just great things for you to play around with in the game. The shipbuilder's fantastic. If you're into base building, the outpost thing is pretty deeply fleshed out.
Yeah.
And as I'm talking, I'm kind of circling around to where I've got some issues with Starfield. And one of the main issues I've had with it, and I'm continuing to have, because even though I've beaten the core game, I'm certainly not done playing this. Is that there's all of these systems and things in play in the game that have no impact on your ability to make progress. There's the outposts and all this mining for materials and things, but why? There's nothing to do with it, really, other than go, well, I've done this now.
Yeah.
Yes, you can create a series of mining outposts and have them all interconnected and farm all of these materials and things, but you don't need to. There's nothing to do with it. And credits, I mean, there's no shortage of them, just from walking around and looting dead bodies that you've killed in the different missions and things.
Yeah, I mean, once I hit the 30-hour mark and bought the most expensive ship in the game, credits were just no longer a concern for the rest of my playthrough.
Yeah, when I got and I completed the game with a ship that I got from the Freestar Rangers. I never stopped using that ship. So I ended my first playthrough without doing any mining or anything of the sort, with about 800,000 credits.
Yep.
So the game never felt like it was going to push me into having to, do the outposts or really do much with the shipbuilder unless I just felt like it. Which is okay. It's just, the game didn't really read to me as, like a live service game, like a No Man's Sky or a Star Citizen or anything like that, because there's just no systems around to really support investing your time in those activities. So that was something I had a little bit of a problem with. I'm glad that they're there, but they just don't really seem to serve a whole lot of purpose. Um, Another issue that I had with the game is actually the main campaign itself. The best moments I had in the game were doing the Freestar Rangers quest line, doing the
Yep.
Ryujin quest line.
Yep.
The faction quest lines in it have great stories and take a decent amount of time. But the actual campaign, I mean, I'm just going to come out and say what I think, and that's that it's not very interesting.
I don't disagree at all.
I don't think the story in this game is good, and that's not me saying that it's bad. It's just that it's not good. And when I think of the space games that I would compare it to, think of the story of Mass Effect 1. This is nowhere near it. This is just sort of, a collection quest of rudimentary missions where you go and collect things, and then it has a predictable outcome, and then the credits roll. So I didn't find the story really to be anything, honestly, even remotely interesting. There's a lot of characters in the game that you're presented with as though you're supposed to care about them, but they give you no reason to as you play through the game. Yeah, it's not the attraction to the game is not the main campaign. Combat, ship combat, the game, fantastic, absolutely love it. On the ground, the AI will either take themselves out for you or put up very little fight.
Or stand on a table and act like they don't even realize you're there.
I mean, you're basically invincible in this game, to be honest.
Yep.
So, all that being said, you would think that, well, Mike's not really going to like this game, I guess. And I do still enjoy it. But now we have to talk about bugs. And this is why I intentionally try and play things on consoles. So I get the lowest common denominator experience that most people would have.
Yeah.
This game crashes a lot on console, at least. I ran into a recurring bug that when I would do like a free land on a planet, so just set a landing point, land, when I would come back to my ship, if I didn't enter the cockpit, so let's say I just walked into the ship, the second I touched the ladder to go up to the main floor where my cockpit is, the game would black screen hard crash out to the Xbox home screen. And it didn't just do that once. It would do it every single time I touched the ladder, no matter what planet I was on, no matter what day of the week it was, no matter how many things I'd done in between. It's just a constant fatal hard crash. So that's disappointing.
That's weird.
I did run into a couple times where the game would get progress locked on itself, like something would happen, a character would, disappear or something, and then, have to reload the game. Those are a little bit more forgivable than a hard kick. All this being said, obviously a perfect score for this game is completely out of the question.
Yeah.
I've given my a lot of thought into this, and I'm not going to score this game anywhere close to how Johnny did.
My score was a 9 even, by the way.
9 even. Starfield is a good purchase if you are somebody that is into this genre of game, and if you just like being in a world, even if it is kind of a lifeless world, but just being in one that's basically a sandbox with some story and some exploration. So my rating on Starfield is a 7.0.
Woo! I did not see that coming. Wow.
I think that's very fair given everything that I said.
Yeah.
you know, if we the biggest thing hurting the game is honestly its main story.
Yep.
It seems like they were too focused on trying to come up with a cute loop to do New Game Plus
Right.
and forgot to make the first game interesting. Because I mean, and you really can't discuss it any further than that without having some spoilers, but
Yeah.
they didn't put together a great story. The story is that you're going to play New Game Plus. Like, that's literally the story. So yeah, it's a 7.0. It's not Bethesda's best game by a mile. But it is good. It is fun to play. You'll have a great time with it. If you want to do sandbox stuff and play with the bases and build ships and things, all that's there for you. You'll have a great time running the faction quests and exploring the world. But in terms of the, triple A content, it's just not there. So, good game. Would strongly recommend you to buy it. If you're into space game. So, Starfield.
And or if you're into Bethesda games, if you've if you've
but if you're expecting a story on par with Oblivion or Skyrim, you're not going to find it. 7.0 for Starfield.
Okay.
Next up. I forgot to get a drink before I came down here. It's terrible. Next up. Armored Core 6. Oh my goodness, Johnny. Let's talk about Armored Core 6 for a second. This is a special game. If you played older Armored Core games, you'll be pleasantly surprised when you come to Armored Core 6. And if you haven't played old Armored Core games, you're just going to have fun with this. The best starting point for Armored Core 6, the first thing people always seem to want to know is, Mike, is it hard? My answer to that is maybe. Armored Core 6 can be punishingly difficult at times, or it can be very simple. But that has always been the case with mech games. If you understand mech games, you know it's a lot about putting together the right pieces, the right weapons, the right armament to complete a task. So if your idea is, well, I'm just going to build this the way I want it, and I'm going to jam that peg through any shape hole that comes at me, you might have a harder time with the game. If you're willing to be flexible, then you'll have an easier time. If you look up guides for how to address each level, there will be no difficulty at all in this. It'll be very simple. Because there's certain builds that just work in certain scenarios. If you want the best full experience, you'll go through the process of figuring those builds out yourself. And you would probably call the game difficult. If you want an easier experience, then just watch a YouTube video on the boss you're stuck on. They'll show you the right build. You will buy those pieces and you'll get past it. So it's up to you how hard the game is the way to answer that question. The systems for combat in this game are some of the best I've ever seen in a game ever. The performance of the game, the optimization of it, is some of the best I've ever seen in a game ever. It is just a finely tuned machine. And that's not surprising given that it's come from Software. In terms of the story, it's a tale of two takes. The story in the game is very well thought out, very deep, and it's a story book. Choose your own adventure. And there's 3 endings, I think 3 endings to the game that you can get. But your choice plays a lot into what's happening in the game. the presentation of it, some people aren't going to like. There's not, CG characters animated and talking. You are a soldier and you're communicated to through radio. And so in between missions, during missions, your only interaction with other people in the world of Armored Core 6 is through your radio.
So you're in the cockpit the whole game, essentially.
You're either in your cockpit or you're in your garage, but you are alone the whole time. So yeah, it's a little bit of a different delivery, but I thought it worked really well for the game. If I had some negative things to say with the game is that there are so many weapons in this game that are completely fucking useless. So many. And I really felt like I had three loadouts that could handle anything the game threw at me and just completely dominate. So there's just a lot of things that I didn't even get to really play with because there was no necessity to, or they were just so shitty that there was no point in even bothering to invest the time and energy into trying to use them. So I guess top to bottom, looking at the game, it wants you to play it 3 times. I'm not doing that. I kind of crafted out the ending that I wanted to see, followed through with it, and I'm moving on. But the story will stick with you for a while after you've played the game. The combat is absolutely fantastic. Top to bottom, though, it's kind of a simple game. It doesn't have grand scale. It'd be really nice to see more done with Armored Core than just this, kind of menu-based interface,
right,
kind of thing. So that's where it loses some ground in terms of how it's going to perform when I think about it in comparison to other, perfect games like Tears of the Kingdom. So my overall score for Armored Core is, I think, the highest an Armored Core game honestly could get. Armored Core 6 is an 8.5 out of 10.
Not bad at all.
And that wraps up the games I've been playing this week.
All right.
Johnny, it's time.
It is.
To get into the mood of the season. Halloween, of course, is just a mere 20 days away from the recording of this podcast. And that is why we are doing a special Halloween-themed Pick 3. That's right, ladies and gentlemen. Pick 3 is back, where me and Johnny each pick 3, in this instance, games that we think will get you into the Halloween spirit. So, Johnny, I've just talked for 20 minutes straight. Why don't you go ahead and get us started here?
Sure, absolutely. So my first on the pick 3 for games for Halloween or games with a spooky theme, or I got to go with Alan Wake. We have the sequel coming out very, very soon. And I think this is a game that was kind of slept on because there wasn't really a lot of sequels and stuff. I mean, I feel like when this game came out, everybody that played it was kind of mind blown, and then that was kind of it. But there was Alan Wake, and then there was Alan Wake American Nightmare, and then now there's Alan Wake Remastered, which is a remake of the just original game. And what's really cool about the Alan Wake series is it sort of follows that classic Stephen King trope of horror author writes a thing that then is manifested into real life. That is the plot of Alan Wake. This author is writing shit that is happening. And one of the things that I really like about this game is, I mean, a really common exposition delivery system that a lot of different video game genres have is collectibles that you find out in the world, right? Whether it's the audio tapes in BioShock or it's the books in Witcher 3 or any of those things, you find these little things that sort of build the world and flesh things out. Alan Wake's is pages from this book that's not written yet. And what makes them so fascinating is you will get a page of something that hasn't happened yet, and then 10 minutes later, you're experiencing exactly what that page said. And then the next page you read will be something you did 30 minutes ago. And they're all, you're picking, these pages are scattered in what feels like a random order. They are not in chronological. It's not this page and then this is the next one. And then as you're picking them up, they're kind of jumping around through the book. But as you're collecting them, you're getting closer and closer to having like the completed story. And it's really, really cool. But it's a spooky game. You're fighting these shadow creatures, and the only way you can defeat them is by pointing your flashlight at them long enough to where they then become a physical being. At that point, you can melee them or shoot them or do whatever. But until you flashed a light on them or lit a flare or some kind of brightness onto them, they can just hurt you and you can't do shit to them. But anybody that's listened to the podcast for a while knows that I'm a big Remedy fan. I stand Remedy software real hard, and this game series is one of the reasons why. I've really, really, really loved the first Alan Wake game, and I cannot wait for the sequel, and I think the sequel is going to blow a lot of people's minds. So, if you have never played Alan Wake and you're looking for something spooky to play this October, you can scoop up the Alan Wake remastered for, I'm going to say, probably $10 to $20. It's not a lot of money. You will enjoy it. It is a very, very fun game with an awesome story it's got a lot of mind-bendy twists. I think you'll dig it. But that's my spooky pick one. What's your pick one?
I think another good thing to mention with Alan Wake is look in your PS Plus redemptions, because the remaster was a free game. I think, within the last year.
Oh, sweet. Okay, cool.
And it might Alan Wake remaster Game Pass, maybe?
I don't think so.
No. So yeah, it's just PS Plus. You may have redeemed it. My first recommendation for Halloween is it's time to turn on a Castlevania game. Fucking vampires, Dracula, zombies, Medusas, death. Yeah, it's basically a haunted house that you run around and kill shit in. What could be more Halloween than that? And it's not a scary game. It's just a fun game to play. It's a Castlevania game. Yeah, if I have to recommend one, it's going to be Symphony of the Night. But really, you can play any of them because it's Castlevania. So if you haven't experienced Castlevania yet, I would say start with either Castlevania 4 from the SNES or Symphony of the Night for the PlayStation. Those are really my two favorites. But certainly there's been a lot of great collections from Konami released recently. Like you can get the original Castlevania trilogy. You can get the Advance collection, which is great. They released another collection that has, I think, Dracula X and Rondo in it. So they're basically all out on current platforms. So very easy to get your Castlevania fix. They're not expensive games to pick up. You can even get them on your fucking phone. Did you know Castlevania of the Night, Symphony of the Night came out for iOS? Yeah, look at that. You can play them anywhere. Oh, you are very muted, by the way. You keep doing this. This is like the 4th episode in a row.
Where's our Lords of Shadow 3?
No, stop. This is the 4th episode in a row where at live while we're recording, I've had to tell you that your mic is muted. Johnny?
Sorry, I was typing.
It's time for an intervention.
Okay.
No more forgetting that you've muted your mic, sir. We're professionals here.
Yes, sir. I apologize, sir. Can we please have Lords of Shadow 3 now?
Probably not.
Those games are slept on, man. The 3D Castlevania games are awesome. I don't know if they still hold up. I know it's been a long time since they came out, but I enjoyed the shit
They're
out of both of
okay.
them when they came out.
The one that's not okay is Castlevania 64.
Yes, that one's a pile of crap.
Yeah. So yes, my first pick to get you into the Halloween mood. None better than the Castlevania series. Johnny, what is your second pick?
My second pick is another often slept on franchise. There's actually 4 games in this series. I have not beaten all of them, but I have played all of them, and I enjoy all of them. And that series is Darksiders. So Darksiders is a video game series that was, hold on, sorry, I had my notes up here. It's about the 4 horsemen of the apocalypse, and basically in each one of the games you play as a different horseman of the apocalypse. So in Darksiders 1 you play as War, in Darksiders 2 you play as Fury, I believe. No, sorry, again I had notes. Death, I'm sorry. So War is in the first one, Death is in the second one, Fury is in the third, and then the fourth one, Darksiders Genesis, plays like Diablo. It's an isometric looter shooter, run around, attack stuff, dungeon crawler game, and you play as the 4th horseman of the apocalypse, Strife. My favorite thing about this series is the art design. The character designs are incredible. The monster designs are incredible. They had a comic book artist. I want to say Texera is his name, but I'm not sure. I'm drawing a blank on his name. But a comic book artist was behind all of the character designs for these characters. And also one of the main characters in the game, known as the Watcher. He's sort of your helper on the journey, telling you what you need to do next and how you need to accomplish your goals. The Watcher is voiced by none other than Luke Skywalker himself, Mark Hamill. This series doesn't get enough love. And the main thing that I really love about the Darksiders series, outside of the art design and all that, is that it's one of those few game series that sort of checks all the boxes, right? It has really fun action. It has really cool puzzles. It has great boss fights. At certain parts, you'll almost start getting Zelda vibes with the amount of fucking puzzles that you're doing, and then immediately it pulls the rug out, and you're playing a Devil May Cry game again. It's kind of an all-in-one, and the other thing that's great about this game is, like, I Googled it before we started the podcast. You can buy the Darksiders Complete Collection on Steam. There were a couple websites selling the Steam codes for, like, literally $7 or $8. Like, there's no reason not to have these, especially if you have a PC. But if you just dig, like, just badass action games that you can just sit and plug away some time into, the Darksiders series does not get enough love. I've always liked this series. I fell in love with it upon the release of the very first game, and I followed it the whole way through. And yeah, you're fighting demons and devils and going into hell and doing all kinds of creepy things for the Halloween season. So my second pick is the Darksiders video game franchise.
Well, that brings me to my next one, and I feel like I've really nailed the assignment here. Just perfect Halloween games. So, any Nintendo console you have dating back to the GameCube will have a Luigi's Mansion game on it. And again, it's like a haunted house. It literally is a haunted house. All of them. And you're Luigi, and you've got your ghost vacuum, and there's lots of great puzzles to solve, and watching Luigi be, timidly scared, in a world that is very Nintendo and cute. So the latest one that came out on the Switch, Luigi's Mansion 3, I got to play some of with my wife, and it's very fun. It's very well done. It's easy to find. But certainly, even if you only have a DS, you can get Luigi's Mansion on your DS, and it's also fantastic over there. So I feel like I'm making the list for the people that didn't want the horror games. You know what I mean?
You got the spoopy game.
Yeah. Well, I talk about horror games so much. I talk about Resident Evil like every episode, or Dead Space, and I was like, today Luigi's Mansion needs to get some love. We don't get a chance to talk about old Luigi and his Ghostbuster vacuum too often. So
Yeah,
I think that's a perfect game for this time of year. I mean, Halloween isn't supposed to be scary to me. It's supposed to be fun and costumes and candy and silly decorations in front of your house. And I think Luigi's Mansion is probably the perfect fit for that. So
I agree.
Luigi's Mansion, if you've never played one of those games, this is easily the best time of the year to do it. It's perfect. You're not going to be scared. You're just going to have fun. So check out Luigi's Mansion. Johnny, on to your third pick.
On to my third pick after Mike's lighthearted Luigi's Mansion video game series. Let me introduce you to the most depressing video game series probably of all time. And that is the Walking Dead series by Telltale Games. These were all episodic in nature, so they follow the Telltale format of basically each one of the games is like 4 or 5 or 6 episodes, and they sort of feel like a TV show, right? Where you're going through a very linear story. It's not going to branch too many different ways. But one of the biggest differences that the Walking Dead series from Telltale has is that within the first 5 minutes, you have to make a very fast decision of who to save. Do I save this person or do I save that person? You make that decision, that person is dead for the rest of your game. Any of the perks that they may have been able to offer you are now gone. Any of the emotional repercussions that are going to occur, you now have to deal with. This happens multiple times through this game. Listen to me when I say this, and I am not exaggerating when I say this. Walking Dead Season 1 from Telltale made me bawl my eyes out. I cried like the first time I saw the Red Wedding in Game of Thrones. Brutal. The people that they kill in these games and how emotionally, I got more emotional playing this game than I ever did watching the show. And the best part is all of the different ways that you can play these games. So total, you have Walking Dead Season 1, Walking Dead Season 2, Walking Dead Michonne, Walking Dead A New Frontier, and then Walking Dead Final Season. Now, here's what's awesome. 1, 2, Michonne, and The New Frontier are all available on Android, iOS, Switch, PlayStation 4, Windows, and Xbox One. Essentially, anywhere you can play a video game, you can play these games. This is something that you could install on your iPad, put on a set of headphones, sit back, and enjoy a very cool story-based game. The final one, the final season, is only out on the modern consoles. It doesn't go up to it's Switch, PS4, Windows, and Xbox One. But they've now also released 3-4 years ago the Telltale Definitive series, which is all of them, and that's on PS4, Windows, and Xbox One. Those are regularly. I've seen that Telltale entire series sell for $10 and $20 all the time. So you're talking 5 games, and the episodic nature of these makes it cool that you can just kind of pick it up and you know that you're signing yourself up for basically a movie. You're going to sit and play for an hour and a half, maybe 2 hours, get through an episode and go, cool, time for bed. And then when you fire up the next episode, you get a recap just like you do when you're watching a TV show. It'll say on last week's Walking Dead, you decided to kill that guy, so this happened, and then that happened, and then this person said this, and this person said that, and now you're doing this, and okay, cool, episode 2. And they all work like that. So they're very episodic, very like sit down and take out these games in bite-sized pieces. This is not a 50-hour investment. They're pretty short games. They're very linear, very story-based, but you are going to have to make brutal decisions that you're not going to enjoy, and there are a lot of them. But I love this series. I think it's Telltale's best, other than the Wolf. Why am I drawing a blank on the name?
Wolf Among Us.
Wolf Among Us. Wolf Among Us. Wolf Among Us, I think, is their best game, but the Walking Dead series is close second.
My final pick also involves decisions, but is certainly a lot more comical and fun. So I have selected the Dark Pictures Anthology from Supermassive Games. Now, technically, the Dark Pictures Anthology does not include such great games as Until Dawn and The Quarry, even though those games are identical to the games in the Dark Pictures Anthology. But I digress. In the Dark Pictures Anthology, you're basically playing a movie, which those movies, spoiler alert, are horror movies. But they're really corny, like B-rate horror movies that you have complete control over. And each game has a similar mechanic in that you have a cast of characters, and there are different decisions you can make like every 5 minutes that can cause them to die or live, or really anything in between. And in the Dark Pictures Anthology, which is a series of games that have come out since the release of Until Dawn, man, there's a lot to choose from. You can play on a haunted ghost ship in Man of Medan. You can do the classic haunted, like mid-Atlantic town in Little Hope. The best in the series, in my opinion, House of Ashes, puts you into an Iraqi war zone where you enter a ancient tomb that is haunted as fuck. That one's so good. And then the latest one is The Devil and Me, which me and Amy are getting ready to play. So that's the only one in the series that me and her haven't completed together yet. And yeah, if you need more, Until Dawn, which is the classic slasher movie, and The Quarry, which is basically also the classic slasher movie, are both really good and fun to play as well. What's great with these games is they're a perfect game to sit on a couch with a friend or with your loved one or your kid if they're over 13 and make decisions together. It's got modes for passing the controller back and forth each chapter. It has online play where you can play with someone. Maybe if you've got a friend that is not down the street, or if you want to play with someone online, and you can play that way. It has competitive play modes where you're trying to kill each other. There's just so many ways to have fun with these. They're very lighthearted. It doesn't matter how bad you do at the game, because it's got things recorded for everything. How boring would a horror movie be if nobody died? Well, guess what? You can try and do that.
Right.
Or maybe you want to do the Final Girl playthrough where everyone dies except for the final girl. So you have a lot of control, or maybe there's a character that you don't like that was an asshole to you at some point. And so now you're going out of your way trying to get them killed. Yeah.
Yep.
Their games are so much fun. They're really cheap to get. Strongly recommend for Halloween, because part of the holiday is spending it with others. And what a better way to do it than with games that are designed to be played and enjoyed with your friends, either in person or online. So check out those games if you haven't already. Hopefully our list has given you some ideas for some games this Halloween season that maybe you wouldn't have otherwise considered. So there you go. We didn't need to put it on here, but if you've been living under a rock, then you might have missed that the Dead Space remake came out this year. Yeah, definitely. We didn't need to tell you about that, but just in case you need to get proper scared, go pick up a copy of the Dead Space remake and Callisto Protocol.
Hell yeah.
Which is just on.
I still got to play that.
It's free on PlayStation.
I own it already, but yeah, I know it's on PlayStation Plus now.
So really good game. Didn't get a fair shake. Much better than people said. Yeah, Johnny, it's time for our final segment of the week. It's time for One Up. I'm going to keep mine short this week.
Okay.
My One Up is a anime show that you can find on Netflix. It's mind-bendingly well done. Just perfect in every way conceivable. And that's its reputation, so I guess I'm not surprised to feel that way. Check out Vinland Saga. It is a Viking anime that is exclusive to Netflix. It is fucking fabulous. I can't stop watching it. It's so good.
Sounds dope.
That's my One Up. Like I said, short and sweet this week. Check out Vinland Saga if you have not already. Really, really good.
Very cool. My One Up, I'm going to keep the horror theme going. There is a movie that I stumbled across on Hulu a couple days ago. It is based on a Stephen King short story that I have read. It was in the book Night Shift. It's called The Boogeyman. And we all know who the Boogeyman is. The Boogeyman is the scary beast, monster, whoever that lives in your closet or is under your bed and is waiting for you. This is one of the creepier horror monsters that I've ever seen in a movie. And the main reason why I'm bringing it up for the One Up, it had the coolest use of video games and mechanics in a video game in a story aspect of a movie unrelated to that video game. I don't want to spoil it. There was a scene where somebody's playing a video game, the monster is in the room, and the way that they handled that was very, very fucking cool. I was like, man, I've never would have thought of that. Never seen that done before. And I thought it was very, very neat. So, yeah. The Boogeyman, now on Hulu. Stephen King, scary movie. Awesome. Loved it. It was great.
Ladies and gentlemen, that wraps up this week's episode of Your Power Gamer Podcast. We will, of course, be back again next week with another great episode for you to enjoy. Until that time, I'm Mike Dawson.
And I'm Johnny Paulus.
Tune in next time. Take care.
Catch you on the flip-flop.
Oh, yeah.